Hello, and welcome back to Double Radio Wrestlecast. It's Brett and Ryan this time. We got no one else. Been left in the cold, but we're still going to talk about AEW Full Gear
No matter
because
what
there's
happens.
a lot to talk about.
Yep.
Everyone will be back in their usual positions for the post show, but for this one prediction show, we got a few hanging threads in the AEW space that we talked about last time that have had some good progression, thankfully.
Thank God. We are likely no longer in the nightmare scenario. Things have been wrapped up.
Yeah, I think we're
by this
out
point,
of the nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
All right. So to get started about this, first thing we're gonna jump into the big bugbear in the room that I think we need to get out of the way is the Elite are back.
Yes.
We're getting a match with the Elite versus Death Triangle, which is our AEW Trios tag team match. Now, I don't know about you, Brett. The reason I started with this one is because for me, this is my personally most hyped match of the night.
Yeah.
To like a pretty crazy degree. Just because I think there's so much talent on both sides of the board here.
It's like all six guys are just like 11 stars, 6 stars, whatever scale you want to go off of. They're one more star than the maximum is because they're just freaking dude. I want to see on the outside of the ring, Don Callis and Alex Abrahantes get into some shenanigans. Just the possibilities are endless of what could happen. Yep. In terms of little spots here and there, but yeah, the Elite are back. I was fully prepared to deal with the nihilistic thought that I would never be able to see Kenny Omega perform live because of a certain terrible human being that decided to take him away from me. But yeah, I really like the video packages they've had leading up to this too.
Yeah.
Super cheesy in just the way that the Elite does about every single thing that they do most of the time, but just exactly the kind of cheesy that you expect from like a wrestling hype thing. It was very, in touch with I think what people and you see them fading out of all the past videos that they were in or whatever. You have a good feeling exactly what's going to happen in the future. But it's just without them coming back on stage and be like, "Hey guys, I know you missed us, but we're back." This is the better alternative to that, I think.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you first. Who do you think is gonna take this match home?
See, this is tough because
I'm
feel
with
like
you on that. I think this is a hard one to call.
Yeah, which is why you're giving it to me first. This, I feel like they want us to think that it was the Elite's belt first before all the shenanigans happened. They were the people that held it, so it's going to go right back to them, and they can just continue where they wanted to go from there. And I think there's a pretty good chance that they are going to go against that and use that as leverage to make everyone surprised when they lose or something, or there's some other thing. But I think the Elite are getting it because they had it already before, but they had it for an hour before horrible things happened. And as much as I love Death Triangle, Pac and the Lucha Bros, I mean, they've had a really kick-ass reign for a reign that really wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, and I think you would be hard pressed to imagine a future where they don't get those trios belts back within the next couple of years or something, because they're just so good together. So I would not be. I feel like I'm saying this as if I'm going to be sad that the Elite are winning when the Elite are also one of my
There's
favorite.
no loser in this situation.
Exactly, it's going to be a crazy match no matter what. My pick is for the Elite to win, and that's my wacky out there idea. Is what I mentioned earlier, is that Dom Callis and Alex Abrahantes are going to get into some hype man versus devil human nonsense on the outside of the ring.
Yeah, I think the only way to me Death Triangle wins is if they want to do a storyline with the Elite that focuses on them having some inner conflict.
Yeah,
I don't think that's gonna happen right after the CM Punk drama and everything. I feel like that's not the way to go right now. So I'm with you, I think, on the Elite taking this home. Mostly because I want to see Elite versus House of Black for the title belt.
Yeah,
At some
yeah,
point, really
seriously.
badly.
That's a dream match, man.
Yeah, it'd be so good. And I think they've already run that a few times with Death Triangle. And it's good every time, but time to
Yeah.
throw in some new match options here. All right, so let's go back to the bottom of this list and talk about Darby Allin and Sting versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
I want to point out that Wrestling Ryan did leave us notes for all of
Yep.
these because he wasn't able to make it today, but we have his picks and predictions, and he left little notes for us. And his note for this is get this feud over with, please. See, Jeff Jarrett is cool though, which I kind of agree. It's
Yeah,
like
I don't
silly.
know what to think about this one because I think this is a weird way to get two legends into a ring together. I think that's the end goal here is for Jeff Jarrett and
Yeah.
Sting to have a face-off moment. I don't think the rest of the feud is strong enough to really make it any more than that.
No.
And of course, like
I
Darby and Jay Lethal are both very good and are gonna put on a good show, but neither one of them has enough pressure behind them right now
yeah.
to really add too much to this. And Jeff Jarrett, I don't know if about you, but the promo I think it was 2 weeks ago was super weird to me, where he like walks on
Yeah.
stage and just kind of rambles for a few minutes and then gets cut off by a commercial.
It feels like they were like he was supposed to slam that guitar over that guy's
That's
head
what I thought, right? He's gonna
because they
go
kept
and
like,
do
all
crank the
right, this is
guitar.
building up. Yeah, and he just didn't do it, and the guy just ran away, and the camera like awkwardly followed it for a little bit. It was really weird.
Yep.
It was funny. I enjoyed it, but for like the slightly wrong reason. um, but yeah, it's like I don't think this match is going to be bad.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of ways they could do it. They could have like some of it go backstage and then sneak it. That's like it's like pre-recorded or something, and then you can use Darby's like incredible film talent to like
Yeah.
super put over Sting and Jeff Jarrett like he has with Sting in the past. Uh, or honestly, like it's no secret by now that Sting is still good enough at his old age that he doesn't really need any help, and he's just kind of like about as good as Darby is. I don't know what state Jeff Jarrett's in, um, but
I mean, he looks good,
yeah,
but
he does,
it's hard to tell from
he's
that if he's gonna wrestle good.
yeah. Um, I, we've definitely mentioned this a couple times where I feel like a lot of older wrestlers see what Sting does in the ring and just go like, I thought my career was like nearing the end or like over or something, but I see this 62-year-old do like frog splashes off like 20-foot drops or something, and I want to do that. And I really can't blame anyone that age for wanting to do that.
Yeah.
But this seems like someone who thought that being like this is the perfect match for me, and it kind of is. It makes
Mhm.
sense. It's just that the lead up for it,
Hasn't been
well,
amazing. It's been
no, it's been a
fine,
little silly. I don't think
but
Jeff Jarrett really fits with Jay Lethal's group because
no.
he already has his two cronies or whatever, and there's already enough build up to Satnam Singh. You know,
I think if I were putting Jeff Jarrett with someone, I'd probably put him with either Ricky Starks or Ethan Page. I feel like those would
he's
be
yeah.
matches. Uh, but they're both tied up in other storylines. So
Yeah.
Jay Lethal is, I think, the go-to for this because he's very technically talented, and won't take away from Jeff Jarrett's presence, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I don't think the inclusion of Jay Lethal here leads me to believe that he's not gonna win because I don't. I can see a world where Jeff Jarrett wins this, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. Um,
Now
it's
you have to
possible, but
consider the fact though, Ryan, that I'm actually kind of okay taking this because if I remember correctly, Jay Lethal is from New Jersey.
yeah, no, I can go either way on this, but I think this is slightly worse if Jeff Jarrett wins Mostly because to me that signals the feud continuing, and I don't want it to continue.
Yeah, that's true. I
But
agree.
knowing Tony Khan, that it could go either way, for sure. This is more of our filler feud for this. So, all right, let's talk about Saraya and Britt Baker.
Genuinely, let's talk about them. And speaking of feuds, this
Yep.
is not a filler feud. This is an actual legitimate feud, a storyline being told
In the women's division.
Crazy. I like like the people that AEW's grabbed over the last like not
Brett,
even like couple of months, just a couple of weeks.
groundbreaking for an AEW pay-per-view, 3 women's matches. Incredible.
Crazy. My God.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see how this goes. Because I think Saraya hasn't shown what she can do in a ring in AEW yet, to
At
a
all,
degree that is like, it gives me any kind of confidence. Yeah, she's very good. Don't get me wrong there. Her time as Paige in WWE, she was very good, but it's been a long time, most of which she's been recovering from a very severe injury. And I'm sure she's fine now. It's been a lot of stuff about her. She's been cleared for a while, and just WWE did not want the optics of letting her wrestle. So I think she's fine, but whether or not she can, I think not even whether or not she'll look good, but whether or not she can make Britt look good.
Because that's the problem with Brit matches.
That's the Britt match
and
problem.
the other person
because
Brit look good.
Britt Baker can do one match type really well, but people are over that now.
Yeah,
like it's been too much of that. If you want to keep that fresh, you have to take her off of TV for a month or two, and that's just not happening because none of the women's division can talk like she can. So, yeah, I think that's the reality of these two. Is when people say they don't like Britt on TV, it's not because of Britt. I think it's just because no one else is better, or even good enough to shoot her type of promo, which is just unfortunate because I think she probably wants to move on to do a different.
I would imagine, because it's like from what we can understand from an outside perspective, it is a lot of like wrestlers kind of doing their own like. I hate to say the phrase controlling their narrative, but that is what the AEW has done.
Nice talk through with EC3.
I would rather not do that. But like some things have like shown that that's like changing now, and I really hope like I have to wonder if like one of the things that Tony Khan would always do to like influence wrestlers things like always defaulting on Britt for like the women's division, like snarky storytelling with a promo kind of thing instead of just being like I'm gonna kick your ass that like any wrestler could do.
Because the only people that can keep up with Britt on the mic right now are all faces, and most of them are injured. So that's the real problem. Like Hikaru Shida is an excellent wrestler. Her English is not amazing to the point where she can keep on par with Britt. Like she can respond, but it's not going to be. She can't lead a promo the same way to an American audience. Thunder Rosa can, but Thunder Rosa is injured. So we're in a weird position here, and I'm hesitant to say Toni Storm can, but we'll talk about Toni Storm later.
Yeah.
I just don't think she has a crowd behind her as much as she could with a different character feud or something going on. But Saraya and Britt Baker, Brett. I think I know who you're gonna pick for this one.
I think I think Saraya. Just because Britt can take a loss in singles. It's been a bit.
If you're gonna cash in Britt's ability to put someone over, do it now. You're not gonna have another chance.
It makes sense too. They could probably work in some kind of thing where like Jamie Hayter tries to help Britt cheat, and then it backfires, and that kind of relights.
Maybe Jamie is like not at the ring because of something with her match, and so she's not there to help cheat.
Yeah, something like that. Because I don't. It seems I like that these feuds exist and that it's something more than nothing. And at some points, like it's genuinely interesting, and someone comes out and gives like a really good like 7-minute promo that I'm like, all right, I'm feeling emotions now. This is what these are here for. But then they just like completely abandoned the can they coexist storyline between Britt and Jamie Hayter a little bit, and it's just like,
yeah, I think they realized they had set up the title picture to be Tony Storm, and you can't
yeah,
also do the Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter title feud at the same time. So maybe this is a way to get Britt cleared off of her current feud and move into the title picture, or Saraya, because I would love to see her if she can go in the ring. Title match for her
yes,
would be great, although I think it's down the line, not immediately, because you don't want to cool her off right after a big pay-per-view win.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it'd be fun to see in the future. So this could go either way to me. All right, next match.
Ooh,
This is another one of my
ooh.
highly anticipated matches, as I love me a good gimmick match with backstory to it. And
Oh
man,
yeah,
Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, ooh, this is gonna be a fun match. I think this is just a classic. You got your small boy versus your big boy in a steel cage. This always works.
I feel like if you removed like 20% of the context and talked about this match to like a bystander on the street or something, they would think you were completely insane.
You know, Jungle Boy is gonna take on Luchasaurus in a steel cage.
a, like a You're talking about him as if he's a dinosaur. Is he a dinosaur? And yes, he is a
Yep.
dinosaur.
He's a big
I
stompy
don't know.
dinosaur with rock music.
Yeah.
So,
I love this so much. I think everybody knew this was going to happen at some point when they started feuding, that they were going to
yeah.
have you know the true turn on each other match where it was just going to be, have to be settled with some stipulation. And maybe this might honestly not even be the end, because I think this
Yeah,
feud
I don't
has,
think it is the end because my
yeah,
suspicion here isn't Christian injured right now.
he is. Yeah, he has a
So
broken arm or
my
something in his
suspicion is
arm.
that they were probably going to continue it with a big Christian match here, and they're
Mhm.
moving to the Luchasaurus match instead, which I'm fine with. Like this is a
Mhm.
great match to have. So I think either way we win in this situation.
For sure, yeah.
I am super curious to see how this match goes because I think it could go either way pretty strongly because to me whether or not Jungle Boy wins depends on whether or not this is like a inner interpersonal feud ending of like
Yeah,
is
yeah.
this the end of this, is this not the end of this, because if it's not the end you could have a second match like this where Jungle Boy actually wins and it'll have more impact.
Yeah.
But I think AEW's also got a few spinning plates right now, and whether or not they have the bandwidth to tell that story at the same time as the Elite coming back and everything, especially with the women's
Yeah.
division right now getting a little bit more focus, I wonder if this might be a thing that gets dropped for a little bit. So
It would make sense.
that could make sense, especially depending on the timeline of Christian's injury. I think that could be the play. So for now, I'm going to lean on the side of caution, which I don't necessarily like doing, but I'm going to lean on the side of Jungle Boy taking this home and the feud being temporarily ended until Christian is back in the picture, just so they can
That
have
makes sense.
Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy do other things for a little while.
Yeah, because it's worth pointing out, like, a lot of times when like feuds have gone on for a while, we have the attitude of just like, all right, can this be over? But this isn't like rematch number like 3 or 5 or anything. This
Yeah.
is, I think, their first like actual match. I think Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus did fight each other, but like Jungle Boy was like crazy, like injured, and it was just like a really like brutal squash. I think is what that
Yeah.
was. That was like a TV match or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really good for storytelling. They've done a really good job of just like, something with Jungle Boy is supposed to happen normally, or something with Luchasaurus is supposed to happen normally, and then the other one will just like run out and ruin it for them or something like that. And that's a
Yeah.
great way. Like, they've been doing that perfectly as far as I'm concerned so
Because this
far.
is also a good
So,
opportunity for the one-on-one match because you can't, it's a steel cage. You're not going to have someone else
yes.
ruin it, or if they are, it's going to be a big story moment. So
Hmm.
I think that's a big part of this. And either way, I don't think this feud is done because Christian needs to be here for it to be done. But I think this is the moment to cool it off a little bit because people are still going to care because Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are two of the like most loved AEW original roster members that are still kicking and doing really well. So I think this is going to come back. I just don't know if it's going to be immediate. I think we might cool off until the next pay-per-view after this and kind of reset the clock for these two. All
Hmm.
right. our AEW TNT Championship match. Wardlow, there's Powerhouse Hobbs, and Samoa Joe.
Big boys. Three
Big
huge
meaty
boys.
men slapping meat is what we're about to see.
Yes. This I've fantasized for the entirety of AEW's run so far of just having a big boys only match with Brian Cage and Wardlow and well now Samoa Joe that he's here and Powerhouse Hobbs, just all the big boys in one ring at the same time, and we keep getting closer. This is the closest we've gotten because this is big boys only.
Yep.
And this is another one of those things where it's pretty up there in my excitement
I'd agree with you.
percentage. Because I love all three of these guys. I remember for a while when Joe was kind of in the ennui of kind of being with WWE but not really working for them, and also not like being hired by them for a while. I was just like, dude, if Joe shows up in AEW, I'm going to flip my shit. And then he did, and he's been pretty sick so far. I don't think he's really missed a beat yet.
I mean, it is great to see the Cereal Man here.
Yes, Joe O's with his iconic tungsten left arm or whatever.
For context here, before I ever watched wrestling, I had heard of Samoa Joe, and I thought he was a cereal box man. I thought he was like just a man on a cereal box
because he doesn't sound real
and not a real person.
Oh my god,
that was the context for that. But yeah, I'm super excited about this match too. I'm excited to see what Hobbs and Joe do, especially because we don't see them in a lot of big men versus big men matches. Wardlow has been, and Wardlow is actually like the smaller guy in some of these circumstances.
It's crazy,
which is crazy. So I wonder here where this is gonna go. Because you've got a lot of options with this match. I think either any of these three could win it, and it would make a good story. I wonder if Wardlow's time is maybe done, just because there's not been a lot to his title reign. Not due to the fault of Wardlow, I think, but just due to the way the TNT belt has been treated in his reign is more as this like protected thing that it really shouldn't be. Which I guess is a consequence of him having won it as the prize, is you kind of needed it to be protected. But I think they're at the point now where someone has to win this match, and it's either going to be setting up a really, really serious feud for Wardlow next, or a really serious feud for one of these two next. So, yeah, curious what your thoughts on that, Brett, are.
I definitely agree that the TNT belt situation is weird right now, and it's not Wardlow's fault. But a while ago, I think it was Miro that tweeted out that the TNT belt, the last good run was with him, and that is just the undeniable truth.
Yep.
It is not like we're no longer in the Codyverse at least, but like this is coming after like a couple weeks where they've just done like the champion gets to basically waste a week by being in a tag feud that doesn't really concern him all that much.
That's a separate issue that AEW does that so much.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Every pay-per-view it happens, and it's very, at this point, just predictable. It's always kind of aggravating.
It's about time they did something interesting with this, of Joe being like, I disagree with you, and now I was your partner, but now I'm going to be the one fighting you. Like, okay, that's something interesting. Yep. So all three of these guys have a certain amount of steam behind them. And I believe it is my choice to pick first.
Yep,
I see no problem with Wardlow keeping the belt. And in the near future being like, certain someone I know is the champion right now. Spoilers for later in the card, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to go after the world title in a little bit or something. But I also think that is the kind of storyline that should wait like 5 years or something. That is like long term. Like if you've watched AEW from the start, you are going to like piss your pants and cry by the time it's over or something. That's what I want that feud to be the equivalent to. I don't think Hobbs has had a title in AEW yet. And it would be a little bit weird, but I don't think anybody like genuinely dislikes him. He just kind of is awesome. He kicks ass.
Yeah. He just doesn't get. He historically has not gotten a lot of spotlight. He's been getting a lot more recently, which is nice to
Yes, and
see.
he's proven he can hold his own on the mic, which he
Yeah.
usually didn't really have to do because like Ricky would talk for him and he just kind of go like this, like he always does, which is fine. I had no problem with that. But it's good to have mic skills too, for sure. So I think he's the underdog out of these three guys because Joe is. I mean, he's the real powerhouse here. Let's be honest, in terms of like career experience and accolades and stuff. And Wardlow probably has the highest chance of keeping it, but I'm gonna put my leg out for Powerhouse Hobbs because I think it would be cool and it would just be
Brett,
weird.
I am
I just want to see
stunned
where
you
they go with it.
chose the same thing I was going to choose.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
All
I'm with you
right.
on this because I think my prediction for what's going to happen in this match is Hobbs is going to take it because Wardlow and Joe don't treat him as a serious threat for some reason at part of the
Yes.
match, and then
Yes.
they're going to get stuck out of the ring or something, and then Hobbs is going to win somehow. I think that's what's
I
going to
totally
happen.
see
Is
that.
they're going to focus so much on each other that Hobbs is left relatively untouched and takes it, which is fun because then you have like the opportunity for him to prove himself in the title role,
Yes.
which is a thing that not a lot of TNT champions have really had. Is the kind of like they won their title through a weird situation and now have to prove it. They tried it with Cody and
Yeah.
Sammy, but those two are already very good in the ring, and it doesn't
Yeah.
make great sense for either one of them. But for Hobbs, I think that's a good opportunity. Um, the cynic in me here, and we're gonna have a winner for this because I don't think Wardlow's keeping the belt. I think Wardlow is losing the
Okay.
belt no matter
Okay.
what. I wouldn't be upset if he kept it, but I do think they will likely want Wardlow to do a title match against MJF for the next pay-per-view and lose.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling. So that way, in a year or two, when they do the other story, a couple of years, they have the history of like he tried again and failed. Because
Yes.
that'll add weight to it. I think that's what we're going for. I don't know if it'll be the next pay-per-view or a few down. But I think getting the title off of Wardlow now with this set of competitors is the best moment to do it and not have it feel cheap. With how much of a threat Wardlow has been built up to be. The only other exception I could see to that is if someone like Kenny Omega steps into the TNT title ring, which I don't think is happening with the trios stuff right now going
I
on.
don't think they would ever pull the trigger on Kenny winning the TNT belt
Like,
because
I'm
who
just
the
like, I
hell is
don't-
going to take it?
That's my thing. Like, as soon as you do that, you need someone to take the belt off of him. Hey, get Konosuke Takeshita.
Dude, that okay, never mind. You know what? I completely take back what I literally
Get
just
Takeshita
said.
and Kenny and do that.
If that like a complete just crackhead scenario of future like 2 years from now or something where that happens, that is like I'm standing up out of my seat and I'm like ripping my clothes off. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. That
Be
is
great.
that kind of match.
Yep. I think this will be a fun time, no matter what happens. Because that's the thing with a lot of the matches on this card specifically, is I don't care who wins, because the matchup is so interesting. And that's been a thing that AEW pay-per-views have been missing for a good while. At least in terms of all the crazy stuff going on. So
Yeah, All Out or whatever the last one was. Like even before that, I remember just,
ever
like,
since
looking
Double
at
or
the
Nothing, we've
card.
been in the wacko zone.
Yeah,
Like,
there was even like a little bit of worry with the New Japan collab, but then like that, like in retrospect, that's probably like the best pay-per-view ever.
yeah, that pay-per-view was
Uh,
great, but it was great after the fact. Not
yeah, because
necessarily
there
the
was like,
lead up.
how are they going to put these guys over or whatever? This is like the first pay-per-view in a while where it's like any of these matches, I have faith in them being none of these are the bathroom break matches.
Yeah.
There's usually at least one or two. There are none this time.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about the TBS Championship. We got Jade, Cargill, and Nyla Rose.
This one is also tough, but
Yeah.
for like it's like weirdly different reasons. Because Jade's getting to the point where, all right, we get it. You're like 500-0 or something, but
People are
you've been
cooling off on Jade, not due to Jade's fault, but due to the inability of anyone else to do anything to her.
yeah, you're making her wrestle like bugs basically that she just squashes in 5 seconds, and that's like it.
Yeah.
With no like story build up. This has story build up, and I really hope that this is a match that is longer than like 5 minutes or something, because I feel like both More so Jade than Nyla, but both of them, they're usually characterized
I'm
as
feeling a like
powerhouses.
tight 10 to 15 minutes here.
Yeah, yeah. Like Jade really hasn't had a match that's like really pushed her to the limit yet. Usually, even in her more like difficult ones or whatever, they're like under 10 minutes, and it's pretty decisive by the end. But with Nyla, I mean, she's just like a tank basically. I mean, she was
The
the
undefeated
women's
streak
champion
for a
for a
long
while.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
my big curiosity here, because this is, I believe, is my pick. So I'm going with Jade on this. I'll preface this by saying I'm going with Jade because
yeah.
I agree with Ryan's logic here of Jade. For her, this will be like the peak of the mountain. She'll ascend the top of the mountain here, and she's going to lose it at the next thing. That's my prediction for this, is she loses it to the next major challenger. Whether or not that is, again, Nyla Rose and they do a rematch, I think this is one of the few scenarios where I'd be okay with that down the line. I also think this could be the signifier of someone else getting into the picture, because now we have the title off of Britt. We have Saraya here. We have Britt. They're probably going to wrap their feud up at some point. One of them could go for the TBS championship. We also still have the whole thing with whenever Chris Statlander is off of injury and Athena in her weird limbo state are like the only... I think the only people right now that can take the belt off of Jade are Chris Statlander and the people that are in the title picture for the women's division. Only ones who make sense. Nyla is a little weird because she hasn't had a lot of big showcase matches in the past year or two. Not to say she's been bad at all, but she's been kind of like a goofy feud person for a while. And she's good in that role, but I think this is a serious moment. I think she's going to be treated as a obstacle to be ascended by Jade in this moment. I'm open to being wrong though, because I do very much like Nyla.
Yeah. I think the outfits for this match better be absolutely crazy, because both Nyla and Jade love to just go crazy for their pay-per-view like cosplays or whatever. It's just some weird like I don't know, just characters you wouldn't expect or something. I love to see it. Someone has to do it, right? Because I don't know. I mean, I get the like Death Triangle probably gonna have the Lucha Brothers dress up like something crazy and have a crazy entrance like they always do for a pay-per-view match. The Elite goes without saying, but like a lot of these other matches or whatever, we don't really have the excuse to have a cool costume for most of these people. Jay Lethal isn't the man to dress up in anything other than his regular outfit. But that's part of why I like pay-per-views, is that at least in AEW, you get some of these professional sports players showing off the dumb geek side of their career, which both Nyla and Jade are very prone to doing.
All right, well, lock you in for Nyla, and I'm excited to see the costumes for this one, because I'm sure they will be great. Yeah, I'm very curious to see if there is an after match thing for this. I feel like this is an opportunity to do the next feud started immediately. We'll see. All right, our next match, the ROH World Championship: Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara versus Claudio Castagnoli.
Oh boy.
There's a lot to unpack here.
It's because this is not a tag match.
Yeah.
This is a 4-way match between...
Can they coexist?
But like possibly the most interesting can they coexist in a while, where it's like, all right, like actually can they?
Yeah, I think we have to go process of elimination with this.
It's too complicated.
So many factors here, but I think the one we can kind of agree on quickly, I think, is Sammy Guevara is not winning in this group of people.
I'm disagreeing with you.
Really?
I'm disagreeing with
you. You're
you.
disagreeing with that?
Not because of the skill level comparison. I think when Sammy is really, really good, and Jericho is also really good, but he's Chris Jericho, so his win percentage is like artificially inflated by like 25% by him being Chris Jericho alone.
Yeah.
And Claudio and Bryan Danielson are like two of the best wrestlers on the planet. I think it's like top 10 or top 15 or something like that. Because they could just pull off anything and it'll be satisfying.
I want to know how any of that
They
leads to Sammy Guevara winning.
they like halfway dipped Tony Khan's little toes into the water of Sammy Guevara finally disagreeing with Chris Jericho like forever ago, and I was like, oh. And then they didn't do anything with it because it was probably
Yeah.
something Cody related, and they had to do something stupid with the TNT belts. I think Sammy was on vacation because he had just like betrayed Jericho or something and had to like look injured for a while, and he was also on vacation for that amount of time. And then he had to come back because like TNT title feud or something like that is what I'm remembering. But because Jericho and Sammy are like they are less sex gods. They've been
Yeah.
together for the majority of the time in AEW, and I think that one like 2.5 week-ish long segment where there was like, oh my
A
god,
little
they're
bit of
like,
tension.
yeah, they don't like each other so much. I did like the Rock single eyebrow raise when a couple
Yep.
weeks ago Jericho was like, "Oh, Sammy, you're gonna let me win, right?" "Oh, absolutely." And he walked out of the room, and Sammy was like, "I guess I could do that," and I was like, "Don't do that! Don't do that!" um, the thing with this also is that backstage, Danielson has been very vocal about the fact that he honestly just doesn't even want to have a title, and he just wants to wrestle, and that's the only reason
Yeah,
he's
see,
there.
that's my other Ryan put here his pick was Danielson, and he thinks Danielson
Yes.
deserves the win, and it's a big match you can have at the next pay-per-view. I think the issue with that line of thought here is anyone who can beat Danielson is already tied up in stuff. And I don't think you want the ROH title to be tied up on the same person for more than a few months.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get that off of Danielson with a decent enough build to make it an impactful match without a big build time. And I don't think they want the ROH title to have that. And I don't really want the ROH title to have that because we don't really have like a TV belt right now. Aside from maybe the trios belts is kind of the closest thing. But I think that this is an opportunity for the ROH title to be big, which, yeah, I don't think Danielson's taking this one home. That's really the only that I contend with that. I don't know about Sammy. I'm not sold on Sammy yet. He could win me over.
That's fine.
But my prediction for the end of this match is Sammy eliminates Jericho or something, and then gets Jericho out of the picture for a moment, and then immediately gets bodied by someone else.
I
That's
could
my
see that
comedy
happening
booking
too,
ending of this.
All
right, who's your pick? This is your pick.
I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna go with Sammy.
All right.
I feel like I go with the wacky picks every time, but it's gotta pay off. It's not even like Sammy hasn't won anything in the past. He's got some gold under his belt, so to speak. But I don't know. It's like thinking of it from like an ROH booking perspective. It's like you have to have the draw for people that normally only watch AEW to go the extra mile and pay for an ROH pay per view, and you have that. You could just have that by having AEW people challenge for anything, pretty much. But I think it also helps to have more of those guys that you already know and love already having the titles. And Chris Jericho already is that, so he could very well just keep it, and I don't think anyone would be surprised. But I think it would be more interesting if Sammy took it for himself.
Yeah, I think every universe aside from Chris Jericho keeping this is more interesting. So my personal pick for this is Claudio, because I think this is a belt. This is a situation in which I hesitate to call Claudio an underdog because he's extremely good, but I think in this group of people, he is maybe not who you would first think of winning the title, which is why I think he might take it home, because it's the ROH title, a little bit lower stakes here, and that would be a fun match for the next build to whatever is probably going to be the champion who takes it into whatever ROH's next incarnation is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's too early to keep it on Chris Jericho, because then he's just going to have it forever until ROH exists again.
Yeah,
which is
it depends what
too
they want
long
to
to
do
me.
with the whole. Yeah, depends what they want to do with the whole Ring of Jericho thing.
Because
I
then they
feel
could do
like
a
they have
whole, there can be a whole thing with Sammy where Jericho's like, you made me lose the belt, and then Sammy's like, well, I was gonna get it for myself, and then you get a nice feud between those two going, while you also get the benefit of having Claudio go do something interesting. I think that's a good build to have. And then Bryan Danielson doesn't need the belt. Like he's not someone who needs the belt. Because I feel like there's going to be a moment here where he gets 2-on-1, and that's going to be the center for why he doesn't win. Unless, of course, Ryan is right, and he does win, which could totally happen.
It's another thing where I like we talk about Jericho being the least interesting, but I don't think I would be upset with any outcome.
Oh, absolutely not.
This is
to me, that would signal Jericho's getting more, or not Jericho. Yeah, I think whoever takes this belt home is going to look better, and I'd be happy with anyone winning. I'm least interested in the outset of Jericho keeping it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'd be upset if he does. I think there's a lot of good options with this, and I'm curious to see what TK goes for. All right, our interim AEW Women's World Championship: Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter. I like the knuckle crack. Start of this.
This is another one of those things where they've been doing the proper build up for it on paper. This is the thing that I think it's fallen the most flat for me.
Yep.
Largely because of the fact that it's interim championship because it was Thunder Rosa and she unfortunately got injured behind the scenes, and they, of all the things they scrambled to recoup the losses for, I think this is probably the weakest execution out of all the
this is the situation where you take the belt off of somebody. As much as I love Thunder Rosa, this would have been better for everyone if they just took the belt off of her and let her be in high profile matches afterwards to try and reclaim it. I think that would have been much better.
Yeah, no one would have a problem with her, of all people, being a twice champion, because she totally deserves it. People are 150 million% behind her, like every step of the way, no matter what she does anyway. So having her be a women's championship twice, no one would have a problem with that, I don't think. But in this reality, this is an interim belt. Toni Storm has it for some reason. And she it's not like she sucks or anything, but she's not as interesting to watch as
she's just very basic face, almost like
it's like capital I interim is what it feels like. This isn't like nowhere is anyone saying like, okay, I'm the one with the belt, interim or not, I'm the champion right now, like how the other interim feuds have gone in the past. Like that makes sense for whoever has the belt to say. I don't think Toni's even like talked about the fact that she has the belt in her possession enough for me to really be like, this person is a champion.
And I don't want to necessarily blame Toni for this, because I think a lot of it is just that she doesn't have the history with AEW that every other person in this pay-per-view does, essentially, in the matches that they are in. And I think this match is just Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter, they're just fighting to fight for the belt, which is a fine premise, but there's been so much other focus for both of them that the pair of them just doesn't really accomplish much to me. I believe this is my pick. So my thinking here is powered by hopefulness.
Powered by a dream.
Because my brain says Tony's gonna keep it. My heart says Jamie Hayter needs to win, and that's what I'm gonna go with. Because if Jamie Hayter wins this, you have so many options. You got so much stuff you can do with both Britt, and now you can pull Saraya into it as well and make it a really big deal. And I think you'd have some great matches off of that without the need to use the less experienced women for the title picture right now, which is a thing that clearly Tony Khan doesn't want to do.
Yes.
That's clearly, whether or not we agree with it, that is what Tony Khan likes to do right now. Is he doesn't want to have less experienced people in the title picture. So I think you do that, and then you put Tony in a program with one of the other newer women who can have an actual like clean slate feud for some reason, and get a proper storyline on the backs of them. Because as of right now, Tony Storm I think does very little for most people with how she's been handled in AEW. She just doesn't have a lot of interesting story going on. It's what wrestling is about.
Yeah,
the
that's
story and the characters. And Tony right now, I mean, her interest is good. She's got a cool outfit. That's about the extent of my knowledge of Tony Storm as a character.
Yeah.
So I think that is what needs to be improved. And honestly, I feel like if Jamie Hayter is ever gonna get the belt, this is the time to do it.
This would be the one time, yeah.
I would honestly think if she doesn't win this, there will not be a situation where she does, and that makes me very sad.
Because this like, there's no I the way I see it, there's no like it's not an insult to say that someone's more of a mid card wrestler than a top of the card wrestler because you need your mid card to be like substantial. That's like you need that like.
Yeah.
Darby Allin, like 85% of the time, is in the mid card, and he's the perfect mid card guy.
Him. Yeah.
I love him. He's one of my favorites. Jamie Hayter is the like mid card level. She's Britt's sidekick, right?
Mm-hmm.
What other time is she gonna have besides now? Unless they like keep developing the Brit story of her, and it's just like you already like abandoned it. Are we gonna go back into that story of?
Because if you give it to her now, you can have Chris Statlander return to a title match with Jamie Hayter, which everyone wants to see really badly. You're two big horsewomen in a match, and it's going to be great. So that's my pipe dream, is that happens, and there is a belt behind it, and not just a one-off match. Because honestly, right now beating Tony Storm is not impressive to me. That's like the be-all end-all of this is, I think, a title match. You have to have beating the person who holds the title be impressive. And as of right now, I don't think it's that impressive. Not a knock on Tony Storm, just a knock on how her character's been built. And it's just not very threatening as a title holder, which is kind of par for the course with a lot of AEW faces. But yeah, I think for Tony Storm, it's particularly noticeable. Right. Any other thoughts on this match, Brett?
No, I think it's worth pointing out too that this is probably going to be like a good match. We've kind of been probably sounding more negative than I think we mean to be for it. It's just
we're negative on the story of this one, not the technical skill of either person involved.
It's still, I definitely still stand with like every single match on this card is something that I want to see and I'm excited to watch. Relative to that, this is probably the least interesting out of all of them. But I
do wonder how much different that would be if it was not the interim title.
Yeah,
the interim thing here just really gives us a lack of weight. I wonder honestly if, because Thunder Rosa put out a thing recently, she doesn't know when she's going to be back in commission out of her injury. So I do wonder if after this they just drop the interim title fully at some point. They do something to get that title back to an actual title belt and not an interim belt. I don't know. I think you just give Thunder Rosa first dibs on a match when she gets back.
No one would be upset with that, I don't think.
Yeah. It's just a hard situation because I think Thunder Rosa clearly deserved it, but she also had a good run until she lost it. Like she did not have a lacking run. So I think it's a double-edged sword here either way. All right. Brett, the Acclaimed have arrived.
And everybody loves the Acclaimed.
The Acclaimed. All right, our tag team championship match, Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory.
This is a rematch. This is a rematch where I'm starting to get a little tired of it. They've kept me interested because of how silly the Acclaimed is, and now how silly Swerve is being in response.
Yeah.
Which is the proper way to deal with it. But this has to be the end of the feud because I don't see it going anywhere from this. And I think just get right down to the meat and potatoes of it, that the Acclaim they're going to keep these
Yeah, I
goddamn
fully agree with
belts.
you on this. I think this is a situation. They teased so long ago the breakup of Swerve and Our Glory, and everyone was super into it, and it just hasn't
Yes.
happened. This is
Yeah.
the moment to do it.
It's one of those things where, 50% of the time it's fun to have, it's fun to be tugged along by the balls and be like, "Oh, I was not expecting this. I was tricked into thinking this other thing was going to happen that everybody thought was going to happen, but the opposite happened and I'm still happy." That's crazy. The other 50% of the time is like, "Okay, everybody knows that this was going to happen and the satisfaction of this happening is going to be,
It's fading.
what up yeah, it's going to uplift the match if it finally happens, and it's going to be really confusing and weird if it doesn't. Because I think Keith and Swerve have been great together, but Keith and Swerve are both
Are
just better singles
Yeah, they're
competitors.
both great singles
Um,
competitors.
yeah, and I think you're kind of, especially for Keith's sake, you're really just like removing the ability for him to challenge for those like mid-level singles belts that he
Yeah,
could, if he was in singles competition. Um,
yeah, he's absolutely, I think, a TNT title chaser. And
for sure.
right
Yeah,
now, like he could have some
definitely.
incredible matches with the mid card. Um, I do think, see, my pipe dream match, Brett, the pipe dream match
Mhm.
here that I really want to see, and I have no idea if this is ever going to happen, because it is a wild match idea, and I don't know if it's been pitched by anyone. Keith Lee tag teaming with Darby Allin. I want
Yes.
Darby Allin to get
Yeah.
thrown like a missile at
Yes.
somebody.
Full agreement.
And I want to see that so bad. So the sooner Swerve and Keith Lee break up, the sooner I can have the pipe dream Darby Allin and Keith Lee match.
Definitely.
And I honestly
Oh
think
my god.
Swerve, to me, can pivot really easily into title competition, like main title competition,
Mhm.
over Keith Lee, just because Swerve has a really strong character, like
Yeah, he's good for
super
story
strong.
stuff. Yeah.
So I
Even
think
if he
he can have
just like
some really creative feuds with the elite and other groups. I think he could have
yeah.
some great stuff. So I would definitely throw him into the main title picture after this,
Mhm.
because he's got it. He's got the stuff. So I think this is just much more exciting if Swerve and Keith Lee break up. Even though they are fun as a team, I think we're overdue a catastrophic breakup, and a title match at a
Yeah.
pay-per-view is a great place to do it.
Someone, I think it was someone in the Dark Order was like a while ago. I can't remember who, but it's like, how can you guys be a team? You guys don't even have the same entrance music yet, and that is exactly what like what when the tag team comes out and they come out to two separate songs. This shit ain't gonna last
They're
a couple
on a
weeks.
time limit that's hard.
Exactly, they're a ticking time bomb. But yeah, I of all the things that I'm really excited to see in person is I just want to feel the Acclaimed air and be in the same
Yeah.
room as them when they come out, because it's like it's crazy how quickly a team can get over. We definitely went over this the last time we talked about a pay-per-view,
Yeah.
but like that the thing is that the excitement and the intrigue towards Keith and Swerve is starting to strain. The excitement with the Acclaimed has, I think, only gotten
Yeah.
more powerful.
Which is wild,
They've
because
been
they were
doing,
already incredibly popular. If you ever
yeah,
been, I don't know how well it comes across on the TV, but if you've ever been in a arena with the Acclaimed there, even if they're doing dark matches, everyone loves it. Like the
yeah, they go
whole
crazy.
crowd is into it. It's wild. They're like the most loud matches of the night. In the like multiple showings I've been to that they've been a part of, it's always been their matches that get the craziest stuff, unless Kenny Omega shows up.
Pretty much, yeah. Or
So
Kenny Omega or surprise New Japan guy appearance, and then everyone goes absolutely
yeah,
crazy. Ugh.
yep. All
But
right,
yeah,
moving on to our World Championship Eliminator Tournament Finals. Oh boy, we
this
have,
is in a weird situation a little bit.
yeah. So this is the one that I don't fully uh know where we're going with this yet. So Ethan Page is definitely in. right?
Mhm.
That's the way I'm understanding this because I haven't followed this tournament super closely. Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, or Lance Archer is going to be the opponent for this.
I don't know.
This is
I think Ryan is also right that this is not the finals, but like semifinals or something, because
yeah,
there's
it
like an
ends
extra
on Dynamite,
match
so
to be had.
this is a
Yeah,
three-way, I think,
which is
or
just I
something.
don't
This is
know.
very strange. Um, yeah, I think this is
I
just a confusing tournament structure.
Yeah, and the mistake was made when
Oh,
you put
something has
the
actually changed.
oh
I'm glad I looked that up. Uh, oh, Ricky Starks is off of this. Actually,
oh why
okay. So this is now the confusing part. So the match, if I'm understanding this correctly, is the finals are not at Full Gear. The
yeah
match between Starks and Archer is Rampage tonight.
okay
So okay, whether or not this match is actually happening now might be in a confusing spot.
a little weird. Uh, I mean, I think it's still worth saying that this tournament's just kind of been kind of mid, if we're being honest with ourselves. Like this is for the title belt, uh,
Yep.
and it's on the shoulders right now, narratively, of Ethan Page.
Okay, so yeah, this
Um,
match is not happening. This is not happening on the pay
okay,
per view.
all
This
right.
is happening on Dynamite. So
So
yeah,
nothing having to do with this match is happening in the pay per view at all.
from
Weird.
my understanding, because Tony Khan has confirmed 10 matches, this is the 11th match. So
Mhm.
I presume we're actually, as of yesterday night, this is off of the pay per view card because Ricky Starks was actually injured in the shoot attack thing that they did, or the work
Yeah.
attack thing that they did with Lance Archer. He actually got injured. But he
Jeez.
should be fine the week after. So
Weird.
okay, so the winner of Ricky Starks and Archer is on the Full Gear pre-show, and then the finals take place on the Dynamite. So something is weird here. I don't understand fully what the implication of this is. It might have been that they were supposed to get the semifinals out of the way tonight at Rampage, and then these
That
two
would
would
make
be
sense.
going for the finale would be on the pay per view, which does make sense. So I'm
Yeah.
betting that was the intent, but now it's they don't want to do two matches in the same night. So yep,
Yeah.
we'll change that to. But
Um.
yeah, we'll talk about this
Yeah.
match, but it's off the pay per view card, so we're not going to do predictions for this one because we won't know.
Just
But
a weird situation. It's like no matter who wins this, I think it's kind of safe to say that they would be immediately defeated
yeah,
by
they're gonna
anyone,
lose
either of the
the
options.
first
Yeah, which
match
is
we
like
get
fine because
afterwards.
you need your champion to have wins
Yeah,
as the champion.
my
You'd
pocket
think.
pick for this would probably be Lance Archer, just because I like seeing Lance Archer beat big guys and then go lose to the other big guy. I think
Yeah.
he does a good job at doing that. I don't
Or
think they
Ricky.
want Ethan Page to lose a title match immediately.
No, and I don't think they want to give him the chance at one just yet
Well, because
either, because I don't.
I think they're building him to be a title contender, but he's not there yet.
No, and you can tell like last time that he came out on TV, like it was like genuinely about Silent, and he addressed that. He was like, "Really, that's all I get for Ethan Page, huh?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's all you get, Ethan Page. Don't think that you deserve more right now because you
Yeah, we need a stronger hook for him. So I
yeah.
don't think he's at the win for this. I mean, Brian Cage would be impressive, but I don't know that you want the visual of Brian Cage versus MJF as the first match that you have.
Yeah, it doesn't work very well for him after we'll talk about that match, but after the way his character is considering the championship match, it wouldn't make sense for a big buff guy to be his next
Yep.
challenger.
All right. So yeah, I think this is just one that we don't fully know what's going to happen. I would like to see Ricky Starks, I think, win this because Ricky Starks is
Yes.
a all around good package right now that probably shouldn't have the title. So I'm okay with him getting a title match and losing it, and eventually winning a title match. But I think he's not the person to take it off of either of the current title competitors. For the proper title match for this one, we're not going to do separate predictions because I think we probably both lean the same direction pretty strongly.
I think it's unanimous,
I think this
actually.
is maybe the clearest match we have on the card,
Mhm.
which is MJF versus Jon Moxley. I think this is really a situation of MJF. There is a snowball's chance in hell that he does not win this match.
Yeah.
He's
To
taken
the
home the
point,
belt somehow.
yeah, to the point where if he doesn't, the Newark is going to be in flames that night. If he somehow does not get that belt. My mom bought a knockoff Burberry scarf that looks about like the one that he wears.
Yeah,
She went out of her way to get that in the mail just for this to wear it to watch him win. And just the way the narrative's been built. Like I said, he's like him psychologically. He's treating Mox as like the biggest hurdle in his career to prove himself to William Regal, to prove himself to people who just love violence all the time like Mox, and to prove MJF to MJF, because it seems like
yeah.
he's doubting himself a little bit in this pretty masterful amount of storytelling they've been able to do since his return.
Especially since
I
this is the match that has probably been most affected by the whole CM Punk situation.
Yeah.
Because it's very clear the intent for CM Punk's title reign was likely to have MJF take it at the end.
Mhm.
That was what everything was building to. And Punk going off the rocker and causing this whole situation has led to this really unfortunate outcome for MJF that has been turned around, I think, because Moxley is incredible at what he does.
Yes.
And has fully made this just as high stakes, I think, as the Punk match would have been outside of like wrestling lore of CM Punk having such high standings. But Moxley is a very close runner up in that. So I think this match has as much weight as it needs. This is the time to pull the trigger on MJF taking it because there's no one else where you'd have a storyline this good.
Yeah.
So I see no world in which MJF does not take this. Unless they want to do some really strange thing on Dynamite, like they've done a couple of times. But I really think that's not a thing to do with MJF.
Do not blow his character like that. That would be criminal. Oh my god.
I think absolutely this is zero question MJF taking this. So I don't know if you have any differing thoughts about it.
No, absolutely not. I think this is if you're someone out there and you think Mox has a high chance of winning, then you haven't been paying attention. I think it's
the
just
only way I
as
think Mox would
simple as
win
that.
is if this was an Iron Man match.
Pretty much, yeah.
I could
yeah.
buy an Iron Man match win by Mox, but this is
this is another match also where the feud has been built up as such where I'd almost be disappointed if they weren't both like bleeding out on top of each other by the end of it. This totally seems like that kind of this. Yes, we have a cage match and stuff, and yeah, there's a bunch of stuff between people that have been built up to really not like each other.
if someone's getting thrown into stairs at least 3 times in this match.
It's if someone's if the ref's gonna allow like barbed wire something to be brought out into a match without any repercussions, it's gonna be this one. And I think having MJF come out on top with something like that, yeah, he's not gonna use the dynamite diamond. Well, he says he's not gonna use the dynamite diamond ring. How many times has my man
Every
pulled the card of
time.
like, feel bad for me, feel so I'm gonna spend like 2 like commercial breaks, like lengths of segments of television just talking at you about how you should feel bad for me, and you're gonna believe me because I was bullied for being Jewish and people would throw snowballs at me on the way home and I would be made fun of and kicked around, and that's why you should feel bad for me, only to just spit in the face of the person that he had made feel bad. And I could absolutely totally see it that like the entire match, maybe he's not even having that much trouble, but just to cement the wing, he pulls out that.
I think that's the
goddamn
finalize.
ring.
I think the best image you could possibly have for an MJF title reign is MJF standing over Moxley, who's been just barely beaten. MJF shaky on his feet. He could have gone for the pin, and he pulls out the diamond ring and hits him in the head. I think that is the best way to start an MJF title reign, as long as they're going to keep him a heel, which I think he's such a strong heel. Yeah. I understand the people who want an MJF face turn. I get it. It would be entertaining. I don't think it would be as good. So
yeah, I agree. The closest he can get is that like that
spot where you think he might turn, or he's taking down someone worse. Yes. That'll be great. Like I would love. I think the match that I would really like to come out of this title reign, man, give me MJF versus Malachi Black. That's such.
That's
because their styles are so unique and different. Mm-hmm. That I think you have some really great opportunities with that. I don't expect Malachi to win off of that. I don't think he should win that match, but I just think the existence of that match is something that we need.
Because, like, yeah, Malachi's not going to win, but just someone who is capable of breaking down another man into his very base
psychologically.
Elements.
You can
exactly.
I want play as like a psychological horror.
I want the psychological wrestling match, not the physical wrestling match. Yep. And if there's any character I want to be completely just like broken down, it's MJF, because that man, for all we know, is like, we have enough evidence to believe that he's a schizo deep down already. And just Malachi just needs to just do some black magic and
push him into being, instead of just like a rich asshole, proper evil. Like,
yes,
push him over the edge. Man, I would love that.
Oh my god!
I hope that is the match that happens right before MJF loses it to someone else. That's what I want to see.
That's the thing that does him in. Oh my god!
Man, I would love that. Tony Khan, hire me.
This is a call out post. Tony Khan, hire my man right now.
Yeah, I think that's an exciting prospect. I have no idea if that's going to actually happen, because AEW does have a history of fumbling the ball with highly anticipated title reigns. I really hope they don't with MJF. And I think MJF, you have more of an excuse than normal to have him not do many matches, because that's MJF's MO. He doesn't do matches more than once every 2 months or so. So I could see bump MJF to like one match a month, where he just stomps someone ridiculous, and then at every pay-per-view until he loses it, have him actually have a big match. I think that's what you get out of this, is you can have some entertaining MJF stomps followed by big feuds with story for every pay-per-view. And I see him taking this for at least 3 pay-per-views. I don't know if he'll keep it for a full year, but I could totally see him doing it.
He can have it for as long as he wants, if you ask me.
Yeah, as long as they just give us some good feuds, because man, he's so good at elevating his opponent by insulting them, which is a really hard talent to have. That's what it takes to be a really good heel, is be able to have your opponent insult your opponent, make them look weak but also good at the same time. And MJF is just a master at that already, which is
I think, especially with Punk, as far as we're concerned, completely banished from the industry for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
MJF is without a doubt the best heel currently working right now, in terms of just his ability to seemingly just like make everyone feel exactly what you need to feel towards a heel, and sometimes even worse. And that's when he goes like beyond the bounds of what you would expect from a normal promo,
because he knows how to
then, like,
get to the line and then take one step over it and then back behind it, so that you just get just angry enough without it breaking your perception that he is a normal person and you shouldn't insult him and send death threats. It's a line to ride that he does a really good job of riding. So
up to whatever feud it is that is final enough to take the belt off him, I think just the possibilities for him like wrestling anyone it would be good, because like you said, he makes everyone that stands against him look good. Even people you wouldn't think that would be great, like promo wise, like suddenly just become better when they're dealing with him, because I think like like he just forces them to actually be like, this guy actually said something like really mean, and I only kind of said I was okay with that, so maybe he's okay with me being a little mean back. Okay, fine, I have to take this then, and then
he can
it
take
works.
it. He can do it.
It's like his short, like kind of weird, just like out of nowhere feud with Brian Pillman Jr. was like pretty good because it just like came out of like MJF just came like out of nowhere and was just insulting his dad and his whole entire family while they were there. It was making horrible jokes at their expense, and it didn't even like go anywhere from that. But it's just like every time I see Brian Pillman Jr. on the screen, I'm like, what? Well, half of me is like, oh man, sure hope Julia Hart's doing okay, and the other half is like, this guy got obliterated, and somewhere in the future he is going to kick MJF's ass after all this time, and it's going to be great that they just planted the seeds for that, and hopefully someday they'll be able to do something with it. But yeah, I again, in no way in hell MJF is walking out of Newark, New Jersey without that damn belt around his waist.
Yep.
It would be criminal.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all of these matches, I think. I am sad to see that the women's title match is probably the P-break match.
Again.
It is unfortunate that it keeps happening.
Mm.
That's the extent of it. I do think the other two women's matches on this card are great. So, and not even saying that the title match is bad. It's just the least interesting thing on the card of very interesting things. So, yeah, all right. Well, we'll be back next week, hopefully. Fingers crossed that we can find the time between Thanksgiving and work schedules and whatnot to actually record the post-show at a timely manner.
Yes.
But I imagine we'll find time sometime next week. So that should be out probably after Dynamite, I would presume. And then we'll talk about the results and what we thought of each match. That's what to expect. We didn't talk about the pre-show because the pre-show matches aren't announced yet, aside from the one that is the corpse of the Eliminator Tournament finals.
The corpse. Yeah, so we'll find those out tonight, I guess. Also worth pointing out, too, I would assume that a little bit of the pre-show would be taken up by talking about their dang old game that they've been...
Yeah, they're definitely going to have because I think they said they're going to do gameplay of a full match during the pre-show.
Like a roster reveal.
Means we'll probably talk about that on both the Gamescast and the Wrestlecast next time. Wow. We have two overlapping podcasts for that one specific game.
Crazy.
It's entertaining. All right. Well, on that note, we'll see you next time. Regular podcast Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice, YouTube and Twitch. That's it. That's all I got.
We should mention also there's... poorly. I was gonna say we should point out there's a chance it might be YouTube only for at least a little bit.
Yeah, that won't be till December, but we'll get it.